The most important work of your life is the work you do within your soul. This is Home Improvement for the Soul.
Hello and welcome to Home Improvement for the Soul. I am Maddie Cheers, and we are continuing on our journey through today's educational systems and ideas. And joining us again is my grandniece Harper.
Hi.
And hi. Yes, you may say hi to everybody.
Yeah, I know. That's what I did.
Learning from our children. So, and also joining us is Amalia Drews. Amalia is a very, very brilliant artist, and she is also a dear, dear friend and adopted niece. She has done beautiful artwork for me for mandala meditations, which you can find on YouTube, and I'm so pleased to have her here. She's also a great art teacher. I have watched her teach art classes with our in-school program, and she's just amazing. The kids love her. They can follow every single instruction. And the reason that we're bringing this up as our second segment on education is we called the last segment Learning and Laws, and I think this segment is Learning and Love. It really is. And sadly, in what we see in public schools, when public schools cut budgets, the first thing they cut is music and art and phys ed. And I'll tell you very interestingly.
You mean PE?
PE. I mean PE. Yes, I do. And very interestingly, in private schools, that is not remotely the case. There is always art. There is always music. There is always phys ed. And again, it doesn't matter what style of learning there is, but if we are looking at the schools that turn out some of our leaders, the schools that turn out some of our greatest artists and thinkers and writers, we're looking at a different type of schooling. And yet when it gets to public schooling, we're cutting out the arts. And we might leave in phys ed a little longer. And now in the state of New York where we live, phys ed is actually required for a certain number of days every week, thank goodness. But still, we just don't seem to have an appreciation for the arts. So, Amalia, I was wondering if you could speak to that, please, my dear.
Yes, of course. And thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor. So I'd actually like to highlight what Harper was talking about in the last episode about playing and how important it is to play as we are learning. And I really think that, yes, we have these beautiful teachers that know how to teach math and science and all these things through play, but it really is through the arts and through music and through dance that we really learn to have fun, and we can learn about ourselves when we get in a creative state of mind. And so that's why it's so heartbreaking to hear when schools don't honor the arts and the music departments within the education system, because it expands our imagination. And without imagination, we don't have engineers.
Right.
You know, we don't have these people being innovators and inventors. So the arts, yes, it's helping artists, it's helping these creative minds, but it's also helping all people, no matter where you want to go and no matter what your spark is or your gift is as a child.
Exactly. And that's when we talk about building the soul. That's where your soul speaks. Your soul speaks through the arts. And then through creating, then you become the Einstein. You become the great technology inventors that there are. You become that through being allowed to be creative. And it's very interesting to me that a few years ago, I couldn't tell you the date, but when we came out with this idea of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and this was however many years it first came out, and people complained. They complained because what about the arts? And then they switched it to STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. But now, everywhere I go, nearly every school except private schools, nearly every public school I go into, we are back to STEM. We are back to science, technology, engineering, math. So I wanted to go on to talk to you about when you are teaching kids, what you're seeing when you're able to teach the arts.
Well, I actually, I would want to speak about the one experience I had with STEAM itself. When I was working at Spark Elementary, we had a STEAM night, and all the parents could come and the kids could come, and we just had each room was dedicated to another part of the abbreviation of STEAM. And of course, I was in the art room, and I went around at the end of the day, and each room was organized and clean and had their projects that the kids and the parents got to do with each other. But the art room was a mess. There was ripped up cardboard everywhere, and there was a huge city that the children made, and no one asked them to make anything. They just did it on their own.
Wow.
And each kid that came in contributed to this entire city made out of cardboard and the paper towel rolls and old bottles and cans. And what I really saw was how unafraid people are and kids are when they are doing art. You get to be messy. Do you like getting messy when you create things, Harper?
Yeah. Sometimes I draw on myself, but
That's okay.
That is, as long as it's safe, to put on your skin. I used to do it all the time when it wasn't safe. Like I was using Sharpies like that. You probably don't want to do.
well, for swim meets, I have to draw my arm with Sharpie, but
So you were saying at your swim meets, you have to draw on your arm with a Sharpie?
yeah,
Why
Okay.
why did they make you do that?
because
I'm just curious.
keeps track of what meets and where you sit.
Oh, very
And it probably
good.
doesn't come off in the water, right?
No.
Right.
Right. But my point is, I guess, is that, it's the one place where kids get to get out of their heads.
Right.
And they get to tap into this part that is like you're connecting with God.
Yeah.
And I think that's where in the last episode, you talked about how kids are sometimes closer to God. Mm-hmm. And I think we really see that in the arts because they're doing what God does, is create.
Right.
That's what God is. That's what the creator is.
Exactly.
It's creating life. It's creating emotions, creating colors and sounds. So when we are tapping into our artist self, which I believe all of us
Yes, you do.
have the potential to be creative, which means we're all artists. When we do that, we become closer with God or whoever you believe in. It could be Jesus, it could be the creator or the great mystery. But that's when we really find a new part of ourselves. And that's what I just love about the arts and teaching the arts too.
And it's what we find when we touch the divine.
Yeah.
I want to point out that my cousin Riley Motes, so one time I went over to her house and she immediately grabbed this piece of paper and she had folded it up to make like a little half box, and then she had all these things inside, and she made a dog out of sticky notes.
Whoa.
A box of like dog toys out of paper, and then a food and water bowl out of paper. It was pretty small, but it was really cool because then we made a fence around it, and so she just did it one time, and that just proves that you can do anything with the small amount of materials you may have.
And
That's
I'm sure
right.
you played after too, right? And you played
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
toys you made. Do you think there's anything, do you think you can make art out of anything?
Yeah. One time I went to Riley's house and she had this really cool like rubber band set. And so we were going to make bracelets, and she grabbed this like Barbie doll table and she started organizing them by putting them on the legs. And I thought that was really cool because it was just like an organizer, and she just used it out of some Barbie table.
I
Wow.
love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That inspires me to go home and just go in my recycling bin and just make something out of it.
Well, that was one of my favorite art projects that you ever did. And this is a great art project to do at home. Parents or grandparents is going into the recycling bin, and sadly, out there, I am sad to say this, but only about 5% of the plastic we recycle actually gets recycled. So you can look up in your community what they're recycling, and then you can take those plastic bottles or whatever it is that your community actually doesn't recycle. It just goes in the landfill, and then make art out of it. What better thing could there be to do with that?
And actually, at Riley's house, also, she has a pretty big basement, and they saved up a bunch of boxes, and we made this really big fort. And it was up for a long time. They finally took down, and we were going to rebuild it. And so we just took a bunch of boxes and built a whole thing. It was actually really big, like 5 people could fit in it. It had a chimney, it had a kitchen, and it had like little flaps because there was this box. And then it was like divots, so we put that in, and we had food in it.
And how much better is that than going to the store and buying like a playhouse that the children can walk in and walk out, and then they do it for a month and sits out in the backyard and starts rotting away. So that is just great. I love that.
It is more fun, right? When you make something, because then it's yours. You were the architect. You were the construction builder. So all of a sudden, instead of, like you said, Maddie, going to the store and just buying a fort, you're making your own. You're making it so that when someone looks at it, they're like, oh my God, that's Riley and Harper's fort.
Yeah, and Kate and her brother helped, and so did Brooks.
Wow.
And now we're even working as a team. We have teamwork in there too. That is amazing. Oh, I love it.
I know.
We should make a fort as an adult.
Yeah, let's do that. I love that idea. Let's make a fort out of boxes.
Yeah, I'm getting
and our next
so
women's
inspired.
circle.
Yeah, I'm so inspired by you, Harper. Thank you for bringing that up.
Aunt Maddie would
Yeah, honey?
definitely fit in a small one also.
In a child's one, you think?
Yeah. And even if you made a fort out of blankets, it's still not just having the blankets just sitting there. Like, if you have a bunch of blankets and maybe they're in your closet or something and they're just sitting there getting spiders in it or something, then you shake them out and you use them. And sometimes, so what I like to do is sometimes I'll take cardboard and I'll put tape on it, and then I'll use a dry erase marker, and it erases just like a whiteboard.
Whoa.
And so that's always fun to do.
Always fun to do. And that's the whole idea. The thing is that teaching teamwork is one of the most important things we can do today. Because as Harper knows, her uncle Kyle, my nephew, and his wife Jess work for a big gaming company.
Yeah, and they're coming out with a new game.
Ooh. That's true. But when I went to visit Kyle and Jess in Amsterdam, and we went to see the place where they work, that what was so amazing about it,
everybody works on the same game.
Yes, and everybody works on a team for their component. So Kyle explained to us that one of the things they really look for when they're hiring is a creative thinker that can work on a team. Mm-hmm. And that kind of brings us back to the Haudenosaunee focusing on teaching their children respect, because nobody wants to work with somebody that's disrespecting them, that's bragging or showing off or thinking that you can't do it or critical. Nobody wants to be with people like that. So when Kyle and Jess were telling us about how these different teams work, she's on the art team, he does programming and quality assurance. So these are all groups of people that have to work together to create the most wonderful and also most efficient product that they can.
And a lot of people don't think of art as important as maybe math or reading, but most jobs need some sort of art. Computer art,
yes,
graphic art, or something like that.
Yes.
So like the video game company, they have Aunt Jess works for she does art design. She designed their graphic Christmas card that went out electronically. Yeah.
Wow.
And she also made this coloring book.
Right.
And she's really good at it, and she makes posters and works with this team. And then there's other people that put it into Lego form to see how it looks that way. And then there's Uncle Kyle that works on all the details, and if something goes wrong, he has to figure out what goes wrong and how to fix it. And then there's people that design the video games and add color to them. And you can work as a team to get that art done. And most things, like if you work at a computer designing company, you need to make all the designing backgrounds. You need to design the back of the computer.
Right. Exactly. So that the important thing there is when we are raising children who are creative, there's plenty of stuff for them to do. I often use Aunt Jess and Uncle Kyle as examples when I'm talking to the kids. And one of the first things I'll ask them is, how many kids want to work in computer game design? And almost everybody's hand goes up. So then when you explain the teamwork aspect, the creative work aspect, there's only one team that's really responsible for the program, the real super technology, the programming, the quality assurance, all of that. That's a few teams. But the actual creative, the writing, you have to write the storyline of the game. That's all the arts.
I love to hear this because as an artist, you spend a lot of time working alone. A lot, especially if you're just a freelance graphic designer. You're going to be at home on the computer, and yes, you're going to be emailing people or calling people, but mostly you're by yourself. So if you find an environment where you're an artist and you're working with other artists, it is a true gift. And as an art teacher, that's something that I try to bring in at least once a week, is a group project to make sure that kids are learning how to be creative with one another, because you start to learn how to compromise.
Right.
Because everyone has these great ideas, but you have to learn how to subtract some ideas, but how to incorporate everyone's opinion so everyone feels that their creative mind is being respected.
And also, no one wants to look at a plain old music that just has a music thingy.
Just the notes?
Yeah.
Right.
But the designers will add color and add a picture. But then also, I don't know why, it's just in 4th grade, but you do this artist in residence thing where it all gets put together and all the full grade works together, but not at the same time. So you work on one panel per table. You don't have to choose any colors, so that you get assigned a topic. So ours was the ocean, and I made a turtle, my friend made a fish, and my other friend made a starfish. And so you get assigned a topic, but then there's other people working on it with you at the same time. So you have to kind of work around them, and you can overlap. And then you don't know what's coming, so it kind of makes it more detailed, and putting your ideas with another person, ideas with another person, with another person, with another person.
Exactly.
Do you know what that's called? Collaboration.
Yes. Collaboration and cooperation. And you can learn it best, I think, through the arts, even though it applies to everything. And that is one of those things where Harper goes to a public school. And that is one of those things where the amount of money you have doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with the money, and it has everything to do with the commitment to the kids and the commitment to getting people to work together respectfully. Going back to that as being the goal. Right. The goal for the soul of the school, right? It's the goal for our soul.
And my art teacher this year and the other art teacher, Miss A and Miss D, Miss Anspaugh and Miss D'Onofrio. Miss A has been working there for a long time, and she always puts together, and Miss D helps. She puts together the art fair. She puts together artist in residence. She does stuff like that. But this year, it wasn't her fault at all. The art fair stopped going to our school, to our community. But she posts like this thing where it's all art, and once you make an art project, it goes up on this app, and then you can see it, and then it comes
I
up.
remember seeing that. And that, again, speaks to when you have a school that allows your teachers some flexibility, like Harper said last time, for the students, but also for the teachers, that allows them to be creative, to bring in whatever idea they think is going to help the students the best.
Absolutely. I don't have a certificate in education. I didn't get a diploma. I didn't go to school for education. I went to school for illustration, actually. And in a lot of ways, I feel really lucky that I'm teaching without this background information, because I can play and I can listen to my students and figure out what they want to learn and build a curriculum that's based off of each individual child that I get each year. I have kids. Last year I had a kid that said, I really want to learn watercolor. I was like, great, I'm throwing out every lesson plan I had and we're going to learn about watercolors. And that's what I think is so great about being flexible as a teacher, but also as an artist.
Our whole class all wanted to do clay. And so at the end of the year, we got to do these clay lanterns. And normally, teachers don't send home plastic lights and lamps. And she bought a bunch of lights.
Wow.
And we all got to, like, create our own lantern. And then we could put the lights in. And it would just looked really cool.
Oh, you're so fortunate to have such a wonderful school and such wonderful teachers at your school. And I want to mention that about that. What you said about being an artist teaching art goes back to the Haudenosaunee idea. And I shouldn't say it's just the Iroquois that did this. It was all over the Native American cultures that we know of, where one of the reasons you have the grandparents teach the skills is because they're the ones that have the skills.
Right.
So if you've got the woman that does the beautiful teepee paintings, then she's the one that teaches the kids how to paint. All the kids learn it, but then while we're learning it, we're looking for who's doing that. If you've got the dad that's the great hunter back then, and you've got all the kids learning aiming games, but when they're learning, that dad becomes the grandfather that's teaching. So I know when your great-grandfather, my father, who was an aeronautical and astronautical engineer with 2 master's degrees, and when he retired, they requested him, please come to MIT and teach the height of height for teaching technologies, right? Please come. He didn't want to move to Boston. We grew up in Baltimore. What he wanted to do was teach in Baltimore, and he went to the high school and said to them, look, I'd like to start an engineering program here at the high school.
Wow.
And the response was, well, you're going to have to go back to school and get a degree in education.
Wow.
So you're missing the opportunity to have somebody responsible for so many innovations, like 23 different government patents, right? I mean, somebody that really is passionate about what they do. And that's the kind of teacher, you know this, I know this, we all know this, that when you have a teacher that's passionate about what they're teaching, you want to be in that class and you want to learn. So the degree in education, I feel like it's used a lot to promote people. I feel like it's maybe necessary to know styles of teaching, though.
Sure.
When you're a person that's been a director, the head of Naval Ship Research and Development, you're teaching. You've got all these younger people under you. that you already have some idea how to teach. So why not let these experts teach while they're getting their third master's degree or fourth master's degree in education? Why say, no, sorry, we're not going to have you here until you got that degree?
Right.
And I think this is why I'm talking about, I think we need to start thinking about new and better ways to educate our children for the next 7 generations.
Right.
Harper, I'm going to give you the last word on this.
My art teacher, when we were doing the clay project, she said she would not help with the cutouts. Because a lot of kids just have her just say, I can't do this. And they make her do it without trying first. So when she did that, everyone's looked wonderful. So she knew we could do that on ourselves. We're just asking for help to ask for help.
Exactly.
Isn't it nice when a teacher believes in you, even if something's really hard?
Yes, because when adults believe in you, you learn to believe in yourself.
Right.
Children that are not around adults that believe in them, the adults are always telling them, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Or, it's nice, but it could be better. Then that child starts to lose confidence. And the most important thing a human being needs to have
is confidence.
That's right. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Harper and Amalia, for being with me on this second segment of our educational podcast. And parents, I can't stress enough, please take all those recycled boxes. You've done beautiful things with plastic bottles.
Oh, yeah.
And just use them for art.
You can also use them to prank your parents.
To thank your parents. Prank your parents.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, well, we'll get into that another day. Although I'm all for pranking. I'm all for laughter as a spiritual outlet for the soul or a spiritual inlet. I mean, comedy, laughter, all of that can really take you inside. That's another podcast for another time, though.
Oh, thank you, Harper.
1 minute. Cut a slit in a bottle and stick your mom's phone in it.
Oh, goodness.
And then run far, far away. And there you're getting some phys ed with that one, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to close, as I close all my podcasts, with a poem from my oracle poetry. And this one is called Ebb and Flow. It ebbs and flows, it comes and goes, and only the Creator knows. It's in and out and all about. And in this life we scream and shout. We scream to hear, we shout to see. Yet that's how it will never be, that we are truly seen or heard. The idea is just plain absurd. If being heard is what you need, then listening will plant the seed. If being seen is what you seek, don't shout. It only makes you weak. If justice is your true desire, then raise your spirit even higher. If what you seek's equality, then see yourself as you in me. If you can make the choice to be the light of peace, then you'll be free. But if you choose to close your heart, you'll never come to be a part of all that we are promised here, a place of love where there's no fear, where fear is seen as garbage heaped upon a mind that's turning weak, a mind not guided by the heart, a mind that keeps us all apart from all that we can truly be, supporting each one's need for free and happy lives of peace and joy, where being girl or being boy is just the oneness manifest, for all are here and being best of who they are and who they'll be, a center for humanity, each one a light for all to shine, each one and leaving none behind. If better is your heart's desire, don't throw the other on the fire. For all of us are just the one, all on this earth, all round the sun. Thank you so much for being with us again, and we really, really wish you a beautiful, blessed, and soulful week.
Thank you for joining us for Home Improvement for the Soul. If you'd like more information, please go to womensoneness.com or maddiecheers.com. That's womensoneness.com or maddiecheers.com. See you on the next episode.